My name's Mike Brennan. I'm CEO of RateMyArea.com and FixMyArea.com, and I'm here to talk to you about urban location-based services. So what I want to do first, I want to talk a little bit about kind of where location-based services came from, their origins, a little bit of history. Also want to talk about some kind of everyday examples of what we're experiencing in the kind of urban environment of Dublin to do with location-based services. I'll then talk a little bit about our business and two of the projects that we work on, namely RateMyArea.com and FixMyArea.com, and how they fit within the location-based services arena. And then I'll talk a little bit about the future and where I see everything ending up. So to start things off, 1983 was the big year. It was a bit of a sad start, really, because it was a Korean airliner that was flying over Soviet airspace and was shot down by Soviet fighters. And in a response to that, President Reagan, he declassified GPS and so opened it up to the public. And for the first time ever, it wasn't purely military, it was also a public service. So there were some other key milestones then as well. Political Al Gore was involved in actually trying to increase the accuracy, and the public channels then came to about 10 or 15 meters. Plus or minus, so that was a massive win for the GPS industry. In 1999, there was the first location-based capable telephone. This was the Palm 7. Obviously, that was a major milestone as well. For me personally, I was studying engineering here in Trinity College, and it was my final year in about 2000, and there was a project on mobile location-based advertising, and it was kind of the premise was the idea that you're going around Grafton Street and you can discover offers and advertisements from retailers, etc., around you, and it was using the Ericsson mobile positioning system. So that's where it kind of really kind of blew me away, and I kind of saw the opportunity there. Well, that was 2000. 2001, the first kind of location-based services launched. For some reason, Tallinn in Estonia was a major sandbox for this, and as you imagine, kind of there was yellow page directory type products, emergency assistance type products were the kind of the first ones to hit the market. And then kind of from 2001 onwards, you kind of got this idea that this is going to be the year of location-based services, and then 2002 is going to be the year of location-based service. It never really. It was always there, and it was always being talked about. There was a lot of kind of VCs putting a lot of money into the next big thing. But it was really kind of, again, for me, kind of 2005, I was in the middle of exams, and Google launched Google Maps, and I was absolutely blown away. And for me, that's when location-based services became real. And for a startup, it also became an opportunity, because there was an open API. Prior to this, you would have had to license mapping technology from the likes of OSI, and it was just too expensive. You would have blown your seed funding before you'd even start building a product, all on licensing fees. So 2005 was massive for me. I gave up what I was doing at the time, and in early 2006 I founded Locate Online Limited, which is the company I run today. The next big milestone then was obviously 2007, I think it was the iPhone first gen was launched, and everyone loves Apple, and but again, it made it accessible. It had assisted GPS. So it wasn't just the Ericsson mobile positioning system, the triangulation from base stations. So it was much more accurate. It also gave developers a way to actually monetize their apps for the first time, and actually to distribute them through the App Store. And so that was massive. So just to talk a little bit about kind of everyday location-based services. We live in a city here. There's 1.3 million people in the city, and everything is generating data and broadcasting data. You've got the Dublin bike stands, even just to know kind of, is there availability at a bike stand? Is the bike stand full? Where is the nearest bike stand? So these bike stands are broadcasting that information of how many slots they have free, how many bikes are available there. You have the RTPI, which is the real-time passenger information. I think that's brilliant. It was being talked about for a long time, and suddenly it seemed to happen overnight. And so therefore the buses are broadcasting their information of where their location is. You're at the bus stop, so obviously your location is accessible. And it takes all this data that's been generated, this vast amounts of data, and puts into spatial context and makes it useful. And usually the question that it's answering this massive amounts of data is a very simple one, like what time is the next bus, or is there a slot free at the bike station? But it's not all these kind of inanimate objects that are broadcasting information. A good example would be us, for example. We're broadcasting information all the time, and one use case of this is Google has harnessed Android devices and harvested information from that. So all the time we're broadcasting where we are, what speed we're traveling at, and they're taking that information and they're converting it and overlaying it over Google Maps into traffic information, so you can see where there's congestion and build up. And all this big data is useful in a town planning environment or town planning scenario, and it helps to make kind of better decisions and more informed decisions. So just to talk a little bit about kind of what we do then. I founded RateMyArea.com in 2006. I was trying to look at a way to get into the location-based services industry. We didn't have a huge amount of funding, so a hardware play was out of the question, because the minute you develop a piece of hardware, the week after it's been superseded by something else, and so that wasn't going to work. So it was probably going to be a software play, and we looked at that and we said, yeah, we're going to do that, but first things first, what's going to be there pretty much all the time and sort of time independent, and that was data and content. All the service providers who ever came into the location-based services industry were going to need content. And Ireland was a good place to start this, because geographical content wasn't too accessible. The OSI were kind of using still kind of, I suppose, grid references. There's no postcodes here. As far as I'm concerned, the postman couldn't be paid enough in this country. It's the name of the house that you christen it and the street, and they managed to deliver it. So we saw a real opportunity here. We said, well, look, if we can harness all this information, well, that's what we did. We built the largest proprietary data set of not only business information but place information. So we've got parks, ATM machines, post boxes, you name it. If it's got a location, it's fair game as far as we're concerned. And so we're kind of proud of ourselves. We weren't a Google Street View. We were ahead of that. We didn't send a kind of a Google car with all these cameras out and about. We just sent people, and they gathered the information for us and recorded it, and we built the database. And then what we did then was we built the software on top of it, and that was the idea of RateMyArea.com. We saw, and I suppose this is our entrepreneurial side, we saw the likes of myhome.ie being sold for 50 million to the Irish Times, and we said, well, that looks interesting. We're not going to get into the property side, but it'd be interesting if we put kind of data all around the properties, so that people could see kind of what schools are nearby and what restaurants are nearby. Was this a good place to live? So that was kind of the angle we were going for as well from a commercial perspective. So we make money then out of local business advertising, and now this is a mock-up. So just before someone points out, and we know Butler's chocolate is in Wicklow Street, not beside the Botanic Gardens, but this was done by our US designer, and this is the new website. You're getting a sneak preview. So we collected all this metadata, and that's how we monetize then from actual business advertising, and also putting up kind of Groupon style offers, etc. We got 400,000 people coming to the website now every month, mainly Dublin focused still, and we send out 100,000 emails every day which are geo-targeted by area and city. But we also had some Skunkworks projects going on too. We saw kind of, we built this great kind of location-based platform, and we said, well, what can we do with that? And in 2009, I think it was, we registered the domain FixMyArea.com, and we had this idea for a website application, and it was harnessing kind of, I suppose, kind of crowdsourcing, people and reporting issues in their area. It's a very simple premise. If you see a pothole, you take a photograph, and we do the rest of the work. But we needed buy-in from the councils in order to do this, and that there was a bit of a time frame on that. So I think 2009 we started looking at this project, and it wasn't until about 2012 that, thanks to Owen Murphy TD, he introduced me to some of Phil Hogan's special advisors, and I was introduced to South Dublin County Council, and from that then we managed to actually realise FixMyArea.com. So the idea then is that you come along with your mobile phone, you take a picture of a pothole. We think it's unfair that, you know, and there's barriers to reporting these issues, that you'd have to telephone the council, you'd need to know who the right person in the council to talk to is, which council area you're in. If you're in Dún Laoghaire, it's probably obvious that it's Dún Laoghaire Rathdown you report this issue to. If you're on Beaver Row in Donnybrook, one end of Beaver Row is in Dún Laoghaire Rathdown, one end of Beaver Row is in Dublin City Council. You shouldn't need to figure that out. You should just be able to know that this is a pothole, this is a problem. Just concentrate on taking a nice photograph of it and upload it, and we do the rest, and that's what we do. So we've probably dealt with now about 35,000 local issues. We receive about 500, 700 reports a month. We've integrated with all the county councils, and we've spearheaded this with our colleagues in South Dublin County Council. And we have web, iPhone and Android applications for this. Briefly, I know I'm over time, just to talk about the future. Because since 2000, location-based services have been kind of, next year's a year, next year's the year. The last 2 years, I think things have moved very, very fast, and I think the next kind of big plays are hardware. And for me, Google Glass is where I see kind of the big developments, and augmented reality, and overlaying content like the RateMyArea content. So if you're looking through your Google Glass, you can see where the special offers are, you know, what the rating of the restaurant is. If you're some sort of kind of inspector for the council or something, that you could have the FixMyArea information overlaid, so you can actually see where the issues are around you, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I see the future of location-based services going, and I'm over time. Yeah.